One day, while the companions were sitting with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, a man appeared. No one recognized him. His clothes were white, his hair perfectly black, and there were no signs of travel on him. He sat directly in front of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, knee to knee, and began to ask a series of questions.
O Muhammad, tell me about Islam. Tell me about Iman. Tell me about Ihsan.
He answered each of his questions until he asked,
Tell me about the hour.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied, the one being asked knows no more than the one asking, meaning he didn't know. No one knows, only Allah, but the man wasn't done. He asked one more question.
Then tell me its signs.
This is when the Prophet gave us something to hold on to. He said, when you see the barefoot, naked, poor shepherds competing with each other in building tall buildings. The companions were amazed. Who were these people? Poor shepherds, competing in tall buildings. What did that even mean? After some days, the Prophet told the companions about that mysterious guy and confirmed that he was Angel Jibreel, who had came for an important purpose. Years passed. The companions grew older. Islam spread, but this hadith remained. And now, here we are. Look around. Cities rising out of deserts. Places that were once empty sand now have the tallest skyscrapers in the world. Dubai, Riyadh, Doha, Abu Dhabi. Towers of glass and steel piercing the sky. Competing for height. Competing for records. But wait. Who were these builders? Not engineers from New York. Not companies from Tokyo. Most of them were people whose grandfathers lived in tents, whose fathers herded camels. The very people the Prophet described, barefoot shepherds, are now the ones building higher than anyone else. How did this happen? Let's go back in time. For centuries, the Arabian Peninsula was a land of deserts and tribes. Life was harsh, water was scarce, communities lived in tents. Their wealth was measured in livestock, not in gold or real estate. The Bedouins, especially in places like what is now Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, were simple people. They traveled from place to place in search of water and pasture for their animals. Cities like Makkah and Medina had their own importance, but the surrounding lands were mostly barren and underdeveloped. In the early 20th century, most of these regions were still isolated. There was no oil, no cities, no global influence. The people lived off the land. They were merchants, shepherds, farmers, but everything changed in the 1930s and 40s when vast reserves of oil were discovered beneath their sands. First in Saudi Arabia, then in Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and other Gulf states. What followed was one of the greatest transformations in modern history. With oil came wealth, and with wealth came opportunity. Billions of dollars flowed into these countries. Roads were built. Schools and hospitals appeared, cities began to rise, and the simple shepherds, their children were sent to study abroad. Their grandchildren became CEOs, ministers, businessmen. The tribes who once wandered the desert now had jets, yachts, and corporations. Their dreams grew bigger, and so did their buildings. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Dubai began its quest to become a global icon. It wasn't just about money. It was about making a statement, a city that would stand tall, not just in height, but in ambition. Skyscrapers began to rise, faster, taller, bolder. The Burj Khalifa, currently the tallest building in the world, became the ultimate symbol of this vision. Riyadh, Doha, Abu Dhabi, all followed, creating cityscapes that rivaled the world's most developed nations. But here's the part that links it directly to the hadith. This wasn't about need. It wasn't that people needed to build upward because of lack of space. These were desert lands. There was room to build sideways. No, this was about competition, about showing the world, look what we can do. It became a race. One country would build a tower, another would announce a taller one. Architects were brought from around the globe. Money was no object. The goal wasn't shelter, it was status. And this is what the prophet, peace be upon him, saw. He saw the change that would come, not just in buildings, but in the hearts of people, from modesty to pride, from simplicity to luxury, from survival to supremacy. And yet, this prophecy wasn't just about tall buildings. It was about the mindset behind them, the obsession with dunya, the desire to outdo, the arrogance. Because when people compete in height instead of humility, the hour draws near. And not only did the prophet, peace be upon him, mention it, he described it so clearly, it's impossible to deny. The very people who once lived in tents are now building towers. The shepherds became tycoons. The desert became gold. The signs are here. The warnings are clear. The story has unfolded exactly as he said. So now we ask ourselves, the signs are here. The warnings are clear. Will we see them? Will we act? Or will we keep looking up while falling down? The hour is near and the towers are already touching the sky. Will we recognize the signs before it's too late?